Yeah, I wanted to kind of preserve it as like at least for its explosive potentiality, like people would tell each other about it when the time came when we needed to tell people. So if you don't mind, I'm kind of going to keep some of that like under wraps, but to date, the State Department's actually sat on it. Like, okay, I'll go back. So the State Department issues me a letter, and for the very first time in American history, the history of export control law, whatever, they put in writing an express policy, which is, before you put this kind of technical data onto the internet, this would require our permission. You didn't seek our permission. Please fill out, this extremely large amount of paperwork called the commodity jurisdiction request about how you decided that you shouldn't ask our permission. You have to have a sense of humor about you too, but thankfully I was able to lawyer up very quickly. I had made a number of connections in the months of our kind of heightened popularity and our most productive work. And that team, by and large, remains the same team. And today I've been able to kind of shoulder the legal bills. But the State Department requests of us all of this information, which of course in this ironic, like Kafkaesque sense, is the only way that they can even make a determination that we've kind of broken some law. So we give them the kind of stuff of which they fabricate like an ex post facto determination that there has been some kind of breach, of some legal taboo or something, or a breach of what's called the International Traffic in Arms Regulations, a set of regulations which govern the Arms Export Control Act of, 1978. One of the kind of interesting and Orwellian features about this set of laws is that since, I think, 1984, this law hasn't been updated to accommodate for the simple fact that there is a thing called the internet. It accounts for an idea of the public domain, which is like a very reductionist in scope. I mean, libraries and conferences and things. So if I came here and kind of passed out liberators, it might be a more interesting legal argument than if I had directly published into the internet. So we're at the kind of nexus of a Cold War like legal structure, and then also the 21st century structure of the freedom of information and the internet. I'll say, I guess, maybe one more thing about this, which is that maybe I won't say it.
Oh, now you have to say it.
Don't get in trouble.
Are claiming that the freedom of speech to release these files, they're saying no, you need permission from us before you can talk.
Okay.
Is that right?
One of the primary arguments we will make if we have to make them, because we're not even to, and you get this is the kind of absurdity of the bureaucracy. We're only in the administrative matters right now. We're not even to the point where we can make a constitutional argument. We have to kind of go through, this could be a multi-year thing, and I regret that very much, which is why I've taken steps to kind of retool our operation. We're in a kind of stable zone right now, so we might begin printing again, even if we can't release the files. But yeah, state has basically said, and okay, this is a critical piece of information, you should probably know. I'll tell you now. Okay, you think you have the freedom to keep and bear arms, all right? And this is something, especially a Second Amendment type, and I don't mean to generalize, about people here, but especially red state conservative type, like that. I hold that near and dear to me. As long as I can hold the, cold gunmetal in my hands, I have something very material, which is a confirmation to me that my firearms rights are preserved. Well, what you didn't know, and what this case can eventually show, I hope on a grand public way, through the New York Times, other things too, I'm working on, is that this Cold War apparatus actually, led by the DOD and now the DHS, actually claimed for itself the first kind of right, to all generated data, blueprints, technology related to munitions. For itself. The United States actually claims prior ownership of all privately and publicly generated data, past and present, related to Class 1 munitions up to 50 cal, beyond 50 cal, explosive devices. So, though you might have the right to keep and bear arms, the smart ACLU liberal will tell you, well, you don't necessarily have the right to buy them, you don't necessarily have the right to make them, you don't necessarily have the right to talk about making them. So now you know. And of course, this is not just a theoretical argument. This is the argument currently being asserted by Obama's State Department. There was an ongoing arms export control reform initiative, which is, as you know, reform initiatives go, had been going on for about 2 decades. And there was a rumor, somewhere high up in some extra legal, national security committee, that they were going to take Class 1 munitions, these kind of common guns that we're at least still allowed to buy. They were going to take these guns and put them into the commercial classification of this scheme. And finally, there would be like a right for us to kind of have the information and trade the information for ourselves, before there was some kind of, problematic constitutional issue. Well, no, it looks like because the defense distributed, it's going to be a problematic constitutional issue for us. You live in a state of unfreedom. Welcome to the world. Okay.